The present is already catastrophic. The present is already scary. If we fail to address loss and damage, the future will be much worse. This is loss and damage. It's what happens when climate change-intensified disasters like hurricanes, wildfires and floods, and slow-moving catastrophes like droughts and sea level rise lead to a loss of life, culture, biodiversity, territory, and livelihoods, as well as damage to homes, hospitals, schools and roads, which often forces people to flee their homes.
Loss and damage as of 2022 is taking place in every single country in the world, including rich countries, but the impacts are mostly on poor people in the poor countries in Asia, Africa, and Latin America.
If your island is going underwater, you have to move. If your farmland is turning into desert, you have to leave. If forest fires are destroying your home, what choice do you have?
In 2020, we saw heavy rainfall causing 4 rivers to burst their banks in the western part of Uganda, causing massive destruction and leaving over 100,000 people displaced.
In the global negotiations on climate change, in the Paris Agreement in 2015, Article 8 was agreed to tackle loss and damage. But since then, not a single penny has been made available for the victims of loss and damage from climate change.
And this is a problem, because areas prone to loss and damage are no longer insurable.
Insurance is something that works on probability. When you know that you are definitely going to be impacted by climate change, insurance doesn't work.
Therefore, money for people to put their lives back together needs to come from somewhere else.
Those who are at the front lines are the least responsible for the climate crisis. I do believe in the polluter pays principle. Fossil fuel companies and the biggest polluting countries have the responsibility to provide compensation for loss and damage.
The major fossil fuel companies around the world
have known for decades that they were producing a polluting product, and they have suppressed that information and they prevented action. As a result, they've made billions of dollars of profit. Therefore, they are completely liable to be challenged now to pay up for the loss and damage
that they have knowingly caused amongst poor people in poor countries in particular.
Although there is clearly a pressing need to support communities impacted by loss and damage, finance has been blocked, denied, and deemed too expensive by those who have polluted.
The Global North hasn't done anything about loss and damage because it has refused to accept responsibility for the climate crisis. They don't want to pay the bill.
With similar compensation funds already in existence, it is high time to set one up for loss and damage.
We do have an example of compensation for pollution. The major oil companies all have a fund that they put money into, where if there's an oil spill, those who have been affected can claim compensation without having to prove which company caused the damage. And that's what we need for loss and damage from climate change.
The present is already catastrophic. The present is already scary. And if compensation is not given, the future is going to be much worse.
COP26 failed to deliver finance for loss and damage. We need to build momentum from Glasgow to COP27 to secure finance for loss and damage once and for all.
From the perspective of vulnerable communities and vulnerable countries, COP26 failed to deliver finance for loss and damage. For the people at the front lines who need that money now, we expect COP27 to deliver it.
COP27 will only be successful if a compensation fund is put in place for communities that are facing the impacts of the climate crisis right now.
We have been waiting and waiting for the last 30 years, and we cannot wait any longer.
If we do not address loss and damage, then there is no climate justice.
It's not just what loss and damage is, but what it means. It speaks of the existential threat that the heating of our fragile band of atmosphere represents. It's the signpost of what's to come. The alarm bell that tells us we are running out of road for ignoring it as if it isn't there. We are running out of road for doing nothing proportionate to the scale of the problem. We are running out of road. Taking care of those at the sharp end of this climate change that is happening now not tomorrow, but now, is urgent and long overdue.